Hi, this is Jordan Moorhead, and this is the Austin Real Estate Investing Podcast. Today, we have another awesome guest on here for you, Cody Caswell. He's a GoBundance brother of mine. He's done a lot of real estate investing at a young age, and he's got a really cool product out now that helps flippers present the best product possible. Hey, Cody, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, man.
Thank you for coming on. Really, before we get started, I've got to ask the most important question that I ask here on the podcast. What is your favorite restaurant in Austin?
My favorite restaurant in Austin is definitely Justine's on East Fifth. French restaurant. It's just fantastic. It's a combination of the food, the vibe, the atmosphere. It's everything makes it into what it is. So if you haven't been, definitely should go.
Yeah, love Justine's too. Great restaurant. So, Cody, real quick, who are you and how are you involved with real estate investing?
Yeah. So I'm Cody Caswell. I was born and raised in Southwest Louisiana, a little town called Lake Charles, about 4.5 hours outside of Austin. I grew up in real estate. My dad and my grandpa are both real estate investors, some third generation real estate investor. And from the start, I just kind of knew that it was probably always going to be my path. So I got started flipping houses whenever I was in college. Started flipping one or two houses here and there, and we started keeping some rentals. I actually bought my first rental at 16.
Wow.
It was a mobile home. Yeah, it was a mobile home on a lot that I didn't own, so I had to pay lot rent. I was all in at $5,000. I rented it out for 665, and after all my expenses, I was making 400 bucks a month in cash flow. It was great, especially for a 16-year-old. So I bought that when I was 16. I bought two more mobile homes whenever I was 18, and then I got into college and I started flipping a few houses here and there. So started flipping houses in college, started keeping a few rentals. By the time I graduated college, we had 14 rentals. It was a combination of mobile homes, single family homes, and a small multifamily apartment complex. And we just kept flipping homes. The real estate, the rentals were really to provide us, income later on down the line. Our intent was to pay those off eventually and just keep building and stacking a small rental portfolio. And we started flipping in order to generate cash for that portfolio. So fast forward to today at 26, we moved to Austin in the first part of 2023. So January 7th in 2023.
Almost
Done
a
about
year.
50, yeah, just coming up on a year. We've done about 50 deals total between flips, single family buy and holds, and we're 40% owner in a large apartment complex. So that was a really heavy value add renovation. So we've kind of done it all. We've kind of been from manufactured housing, not really on the mobile home park side like you, but more on the actual ownership of the homes. We've done some single family deals. We've flipped a lot of single family homes. We have done small multifamily, large multifamily, and just this year we launched our interior design business for real estate investors. So we launched a business where we're actually designing homes for real estate investors that are flipping houses across the country. So it's a virtual service. We're doing it for investors everywhere.
Awesome. And we'll definitely talk more about that. I think it's easy for people to say, wow, you've done a lot and you're so young, but you started really young. You've been doing this for 10 years.
Yeah. This is my 10th year in the business. I realized that just a couple of months ago that this is my 10th year in real estate investing, which is crazy. And it started out as something super small, right? It was a mobile home that I owned for
Mhm.
$5,000 cash. It was every bit of money I had at 16.
Oh, well, that's good
And
at
it
16.
started. Yeah, I mean, it was pretty good money at 16 too. I worked for it for sure.
Mhm.
Worked for my dad and my grandpa.
Mhm.
But so I started out, kind of the way everybody does, like started out with something that I could digest, something that was like small enough I could wrap my head around, and just kind of built it up from there one by one, bought a 2 bedroom house, then bought a 3 bedroom house, then flipped a 5 bedroom house, bought an 8 unit apartment complex, just kind of stacked on top of there the way that everybody else does.
That's awesome. So you mentioned your dad and your grandpa. What did they do in real estate investing? And I assume they're still doing it.
Yeah, so my grandpa just got out this year. He's 78 years old. He bought about 10 rental units throughout his entire life. So he bought about 10 units. They were a mix of, homes, mobile homes, things like that. Nothing crazy, just paid them off over time. And he ended up owning 10 properties cash by
Hmm.
the time he was this year 78 and he sold them all. Not to say they were nice, but he owned them. um, My dad started investing when he was in his early 30s. So he was a DIYer. He was just buy one house at a time, fix it up, and rent it and refinance. So he was doing the Burr method before it was ever coined a term, 25 years ago. And he got to a point where he owns about 35 houses right now. I think
Nice.
most of them are paid off, if not all of them by now. So he kind of got to a point where he owned about 35 houses paid off.
Does he still work, or is he kind of that's full-time gig?
They self-manage, so he still works,
Mhm.
fully self-managed. He does all the maintenance and repairs, something to get him up in the day. He's in his late 50s now, so it's less work, over time as you own these properties longer. You renovate them, you keep them nice, you end up having newer components in them, and most of them don't require a whole lot of maintenance now, and
Mhm.
so it's just management, collecting rent, things like that.
That's awesome. That's a great example for you. Your dad's in his late 50s and is fully retired, or retired, it sounds like, manages a few rental properties.
Yeah, it was a great example. I think what it was a really good intro into real estate to say, like, hey, no matter what you do, this method works. And
Hmm.
I still believe that to be true today. Now, especially in today's world, is there a better use of dollars and resources to help you grow faster, larger, quicker? I definitely think so. So, our philosophy is, we're taking on a little bit more debt, we're taking on a little bit more risk. We're also younger when we started. So our goal is to go a lot further than that. It's just, it was a good base knowledge to get you introed into the business to show you, hey, this works, this is how the system works. And it kind of taught you from like a young age, like how the financial system works, how real estate works, and how you can hack it all for wealth.
Yeah. And I think we're just blessed with the technology and the information age. So when our parents were younger, I mean, logically, it makes sense. You buy one house every year or two, pay them off over time. And that's a really good amount of passive income and wealth generation right there. If that's all you ever did, you'd be in an amazing spot. But like you're saying, like we get to see these examples of, let's say, people in GoBundance that have 1,000 units, or build these big companies, or find these amazing niche investments and do really, really well. But we're only able to access that because of things like this, podcasts, YouTube, all the books out there. So many books anymore, all the books out there, all the seminars, all the conferences. It just wasn't around when our parents were younger. And I talk to my dad all the time. He's like, man, you just have access to so much more information than I ever knew about.
Exactly. Like, back whenever my dad was really doing this stuff, 25 years ago, the way you found out where houses were for sale was like in the paper, the newspaper, or driving around, or your agent,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that was the only way. Now
Mhm,
we can scroll Zillow markets all over the country. I mean, shoot, we can
mhm.
look internationally if we want to. And that just wasn't
Yeah.
available back then. So, like I said, like I think today's opportunity for, younger guys like us, it definitely provides a bigger opportunity to grow bigger, faster. But it's
Mhm.
just the tools that we have at our resource, the resources we have available at this point in time. Like they just didn't have that.
Yeah, no, it's great. Really interesting. So, Cody, sounds like things were going really well in Lake Charles. What prompted the move to Austin?
Mostly just a lifestyle change. Austin's such an amazing, vibrant place. We've loved it for the past 5 years. Me and my wife visited here several times a year, every single year.
Hmm.
And we found ourselves vacationing here so much that we were just like, what are we doing with our lives? We're still young. We don't have kids yet. We don't really have a ton of liabilities. Let's make this move now, plant our roots down. That way, whenever we are ready to start a family, settle down a little bit more, we already have like an established life, established business built here, rather than trying to move in the midst of all that craziness. So it was just more of like a strategic timing decision and just a lifestyle change. Where we're from is a smaller community, smaller town. Nothing wrong with that, but it wasn't fitting the lifestyle that we wanted to live. So Austin really fits our lifestyle great, and we love it.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot to be said to the community you live in. So, like Austin, for example, there's so many people doing so many things here, and it's so easy to just look at somebody in Austin and say, "Wow, that's just a normal guy. I could do that too," and it pulls everybody up. The community you live in, it's like a mastermind. It does pull everybody up. And I think, like you said, hey, we could stay in Lake Charles, or we could go just down the street 4 hours and we could be in a much different area that kind of more aligns with where our goals are and where we're trying to go. That's really cool.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, we were ready for a time to level up in our life, and
Mhm.
just in the community we were in, we just weren't surrounded by that leveling up energy. And it was like, we needed to be around that. We needed to be able to see other people that were doing it and be able to not only like take, their advice and be able to actually be around them, but just to be able to take that, that energy. It rubs off on you, like a rising
Yeah.
tide lifts all boats.
Yeah, and then you never want to be the biggest fish in a small pond either. I Where I'm from, Louisville, Kentucky, like compared to a lot of my friends in Louisville, I'm doing pretty well, but compared to a lot of my friends in Austin, I'm just getting started. So I
Yep.
love that personally.
Yep. Me too.
Cody, what's the biggest mistake you've ever made in real estate investing?
The biggest mistake I've ever made in real estate investing. So I'm a construction expert. That's kind of what I like label myself as. So I'm an investor, yes, but I'm really in construction. I'm really good at residential construction. So the biggest mistake that I ever made in investing was taking on too large of a construction project where there were too many variables to go wrong,
Mm.
and too many spots for you to lose money. So I've done this twice, and both times it didn't work out either time. So I'm not going to let there be a third strike there either.
Can you
So
give an example of what happened?
yeah, examples of both. So this is, this goes for both. I'll kind of give examples of one or the other. Um, we did this on one project. We had this little single family house. It was 1,000 square feet, 3 bedroom, 1 bath. And a really bad hurricane had come through our area, and a tree in the front yard had fallen directly on the center of this house and split it completely in half. It was unlike anything I'd ever seen. But a friend of mine, he's actually in GoAbundance as well. He's a wholesaler, and he had it under contract, and he had it under contract for a dirt cheap price. I almost considered it like property value for this area. And he was like, "Hey, I have this house. It's this is the price, and you want to go take a look at it." At the time that the deal came across my desk, I kind of needed another deal because I had a few projects wrapping up, and I had a lot of construction crews working for me at the time, and I had them full time. But
Mm.
if I didn't keep using them, they were going to move on to the next guy. So I just immediately went and looked at the house on the spot. I called him. I said, "I'll take it. I'll close in a week." And he was like, "You don't want to negotiate the price at all?" And I said, "Nope. I need the project, and I think the property's worth it." Well, come to find out, from me not actually taking the time to do my due diligence in the construction, and me more or less just pulling up in the driveway and saying, "I'll take it," there ended up being way more wrong with this house than I anticipated. The electrical that I planned to repair had to be completely replaced. The HVAC that I planned to repair had to be completely replaced. There was these large like system items, like my plumbing was really damaged, my foundation got messed up. It was like things that I just wasn't planning for because I didn't take the time to really go through my estimate and go through my scopes of work. Ended up being wrong with the house, and the house ended up costing me double of what I initially planned. And when we resold that house, it was really, really, really nice. It was by far the nicest house in the neighborhood. We set the comp for the neighborhood. It was wonderful, but we still couldn't meet the price. And it was a combination of A, we spent too much money on the house, and B, that house was also too small. So even though our price per square foot was really high, it was only 1,000 square feet. And like we couldn't get the price we needed for it just because there was no square footage.
Yeah.
So that, and then we actually did that exact same problem on another house. So it was a 5 bedroom house, total opposite. It was a really big house, 3,600 square feet living. We took this house. It had from the same storm, actually. It had 3 trees that had fallen on it.
Three. Wow.
And yeah, but it had clipped the corners of the house. So it wasn't necessarily right in the middle. So I thought that I kind of didn't do a big walkthrough either. It was a really nice house in a nice neighborhood. At the time, I was considering buying it for me and my wife. We were going to buy it to live in it before we moved to Austin. But
Mhm.
we loved the area. It was also a 10 out of 10 area. And we were like, you know what? Let's buy it. Same exact problem. We had to replace practically everything in the house, and on a 3,600 square foot house, it was just so expensive. We ended up losing about 40,000 on that house.
Wow.
So definitely my biggest mistake in real estate investing. I wouldn't call it those two houses. I'd say it's the premise. It's like not really taking the time to walk through your scopes of work and your due diligence on rehabs, because
Mhm.
rehab costs they can blow up so fast if you don't pay attention to them. So now whenever we do our scopes of work and our estimates, we're typically within 5% of what we initially do our scopes of work on initial cost. We haven't been outside of 5% since those projects. So we're extremely detailed.
Yeah, and I think that's happened to me on projects too. We've had a couple houses where we've just gone into them. We weren't very careful on making sure we checked everything. We walked it with a contractor. We just said that's a house for us and bought it. And we essentially should have just built a new house. Because we
Yep.
replaced everything in the house, the plumbing, the electrical, the roof, the windows, all this stuff. And at some point you're like, why? I just completely remodeled the 1950s or 1960s home, and for a couple grand more I could have built a brand new home.
Yep. I say that on those two projects all the time. We should have just bulldozed them and started over. 100% should have did that. But
Yeah.
hindsight's 2020, right? Like I think every investor honestly needs to make that specific mistake at some point in their career.
Mhm.
Because if not, if they have a couple of projects that go well, they go in budget, maybe they go in timeline, you start to think that every project is going to be that way and that you're just good at it. Well, you learn pretty quickly that you're not just good at it, that projects do really go the way you want them to sometimes, but other times they require that extra level of due diligence. They require that like extra line item check off of, hey, I checked everything in this house and this is my price. And then you still got to add a contingency on top because inevitably something else will pop up. So I think every investor has to make that mistake. Definitely don't make it twice like me, but it's okay if you make it once.
I think that's why it's so important to have some sort of system or due diligence checklist to go through when you're looking at properties like this, because success can be a huge problem. Like you're saying, you have so much success and you start to feel like you just can't make mistakes. And you don't even pay attention after a certain point and just say, okay, no problem. Let's do that. Let's buy that one. And it's so easy to get ahead of yourself when you've had 10 successful or 15 or 20 successful projects. You say, hey, I can't do no wrong.
Right, it totally is. And now we have extensive checklists we go through in every properties. We have calculators built out, things like that, to prevent us from making these decisions. And that's how we do get so close on our rehab
Mhm.
budgets now. Is because like after that happened, we said, okay, how do we make this not happen again? And we really refined our systems to get a lot more peace of mind when you're doing these projects too. I think like having your due diligence checklist, like you talked about, and like actually going the extra level, it really brings you a peace of mind when you're analyzing deals too. Because when you just pull the trigger and you say yes, there's always that little part in the back of your mind that wonders, am I making the right decision?
Yeah,
Whereas, like if you have your full due diligence out on these deals, you're making the right decision, at least with the information that you have.
absolutely. So important to have systems and processes. So, Cody, tell me a little bit about this interior design business for real estate investors. You told me a little bit about it, and it sounded really interesting. It sounded like the perfect solution because, as a realtor, I know when you're going to sell a flip or you're going to sell a home or whatever project you're doing, having great design makes the biggest difference. And it doesn't cost the most money, but just putting in some nice features is not all it takes to make a very successful project.
Yeah, totally. So my wife Sarah, she comes from the interior design world. She's an interior designer, and what we kind of found out, like as we're flipping these homes, our homes are always setting the comps for the areas. They're always selling really fast, and they're always look better than every other flip that is anywhere around.
Mhm.
So as we started flipping these houses, flipping a lot of deals, other investors started noticing that our flips were looking really nice. They were selling really fast, selling high prices. And they started reaching out to us to say, like, hey, would you guys consider designing our flips as well? And further analysis of this shows that like real estate is a very male dominated industry. So I'd say probably 90% of real estate investors are male,
Mhm.
and typically men can't design worth the flip. Like we can't. We're not good. We're not designers, right? We're investors. We want the deal. We want to worry about costs. We want to worry about contractors. Like we don't want to worry about design. So one of two things ends up happening. The investor either plans for something that's super basic, which is like we call it when your flips get to the case of the grays. You got gray walls, gray floors, white cabinets, and white counters, and that's about to the extent you go. You use really cheap tiles, basic vanities, just whatever you can to get the project done. And what we're finding in a challenging market like this is that your flips have to really stand out if you want
Oh
them
yeah.
to sell against the competition. You can't just have basic white cabinets and gray floors. Like, buyers want more. And truth be told, in a market like this, they have the option for more. So you have to design your flips better to compete. So either the flipper's going to have a really, really basic design that he just spits out in all of his flips, or he's going to allow his contractor to design it, which is another situation of a man going to design his house looking like crap. So, contractors are contractors, they're not designers. So we kind of saw this need in the industry of, hey, real estate investors have to start making their flips look better if they want them to sell. And ours were still selling fast. We had no problem with getting ours under contract. So we launched this business, the number one interior design service for real estate investors. And we basically take everything that is done in the interior design industry, traditional interior design, that is costing a client maybe $250 an hour for. That's probably the industry average right now. It's incredibly expensive. It shouldn't be that much. So yeah, we boiled it down to a flat fee rate based on square footage that investors can bill into their project. So our design rates are $2,000 to $3,000 flat fee, depending on your square footage. You can easily build it into your cost. And we design every single aspect of the house. So that goes for like your tile, your grout colors, your flooring, painting, roofing, fixtures, everything you can possibly imagine. We design, put it in design boards, and we build out a finish schedule for your contractor to be able to order all the materials, make sure the design comes out the way that we design. So basically, it like removes the investor from the design aspect of real estate investing, so that way they can spend their time finding more deals. It takes less than 2 hours of their time to have their flip fully designed. And honestly, a byproduct of this too that we kind of saw is like it gives flippers a plan, because flippers notoriously, especially really kind of all real estate investors, kind of just fly by the seat of their pants, right? They're doing deals, they're getting stuff done, they're very productive, but it kind of all looks like a crap show at the end of the day. So this gives people a plan. Like we were doing this for ourselves. We brought this to other investors where every single decision about that project is made before the first hammer is swung. So every single design aspect, every single question about floor plans, everything is done before the project ever starts.
So this is something somebody would come to you with. Let's say they just closed on a property and they're getting ready to put together the rehab plan, or maybe they haven't even closed on a property yet.
Yeah, so it's something that at least you have it under escrow, and you close on it. You come to us and say, hey, I have this project coming up. I need a design. It's 1,500 square foot 3-2. We say, okay, great. It's a $2,000 flat fee. We need you to go and take photos and videos of the project. So we're going to ask you to take a big list of photos and videos about what angles and things like that. You submit us a floor plan through Cubic Casa. It takes you about 5 minutes to do. And from there, we fully design every aspect of the house. You're going to walk through the house and kind of tell us what your plan is. So as you're doing your video walkthrough, you're going to tell us like, hey, we're going to save these cabinets. We just want to paint them. That's what's in our budget. We're going to change these flooring. We're going to take this tub out and make a walk-in shower, things like that. You have to tell us what's in your budget to actually do, and then we're going to take that and design it.
Okay, that's really cool. And yeah, I've never heard of a service like this, but it seems so important because, like you said, I loved where you said the case of the grays. When we bought this house, Jess, my girlfriend, said we're not doing gray again. Every house I bought, it just gray, maybe white cabinets, maybe quartz countertops. It's just subway tile backsplash. I mean, I think it looks good, but it's not. There's nothing, no thought process to it. It's not a design that fits the space or is really going to attract everybody. It's great for rentals, but when you're trying to sell a flip or maybe get a home designed for yourself, somebody could do this for their own home too, right?
Absolutely. Well, yeah. So we're not pertaining to clients. We're actually working with only the investing industry and
Mm,
to the investors and builders. And reason being is that there's not a lot of changes, right? So like our intent is to give you the full design from project day one, and you stick to the design. So that's
mhm,
our intent. Clients typically kind of go back and forth. It's a lot more interaction
mhm.
in designing specifically for a client rather than like an actual, investor or builder. So it's a lot smoother process from us, and also it's just an industry. It's something to break the industry norm. So if you're to work for the client, you're gonna have to charge hourly, and we don't feel like the hourly model is friendly to what somebody's trying to budget because you never know where you're gonna end up.
Yeah.
So right, so like that's why investors in the past have never used interior designers because you never know where you're gonna end up on price. So
Yeah.
it's something that they can't build into their project. So whenever we can go to an investor and we can say, hey, we'll make your flip sell 30 days faster, less days on market. We'll get it for a higher price. And the price is going to be 2 to 3,000 on every project based on these square footages. Well, then every time they're looking at their numbers, they can always just bill it in interior design X dollars.
Mhm.
It's an easy bill in. It's a fair cost, and it's a real break in the industry too, because the industry standard has been charging egregious amounts of money for something that's definitely not worth it, and not worth the money that they charge. So this is sort of like we're breaking the industry in, hey, this is a fair service at a fair cost. We're saving you time. We're giving you a plan. Just think, the luxury residential world, they've been doing this model forever. I mean, it's a really old business. And we're taking that exact model and just giving it to real estate investors so we can better develop their systems.
That's awesome. That's such a great value add for flippers. Um, what's the service called, Cody?
It's Ivory Home. So if you look us up, I'm sure you'll post them in the show notes, but I'll give you all
Mhm.
of our social medias and things like that. You can go visit there. You can see our projects, things like that. And we're building out our website right now too, so that'll be there for you to be able to inquire on. We actually have pre-designed templates too that we're building right now. So we'll have about 10 of those launch next year. They're going to be, it'll probably be 80%. If you have a light flip or something like that that doesn't need full design on,
Mhm.
you can go buy one of these pre-designed templates. They're going to be a really reduced rate, and it'll give you probably 80% of what you're looking for. But if you feel like the other 20% you're probably going to keep in the project anyways, like maybe you're not changing this carpet or maybe you're not changing out this tile, it'll be a good solution for you. So we got solutions for both light flips and heavy flips.
Awesome. Yeah, I look forward to seeing more about that. Um, what are your so what would your ideal client be? Like you said it's flippers, builders, like a first time flipper, or who is this service for? I guess like everybody this service would be for. Obviously, it's probably not for just regular consumers.
Right. Yeah. It's for real estate investors and builders. Ideally, it's for the real estate investor that does several deals a year.
Mhm.
Probably worked through the market that was hot where their flips worked and then their flips stopped working. So somebody that has done the gray walls, gray floors, white trim, and maybe it worked in the past, but their projects are sitting now and they're starting to see the value of, hey, I have to start offering a better product than my competitors do if I want to compete in this market. So it's really for flippers and new developers, either or.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I know there's a lot of people looking to get into flipping always. And there's a lot of flippers, like you said, that flip through the hot times that are seeing stuff sit now and they're very confused. They're saying, what's going on here? That I was selling things on a weekend 2 years ago, and now it's 60, 90, 120 days in. It's not going
Exactly.
anywhere.
Exactly.
Challenging.
So it's like there's a balance between it's like, okay, yeah, price is definitely a factor, but when
Mhm.
everybody's dropping prices, what are you going to do? Like your flip has to stand out somehow or another. You've got to make your projects look good to the buyer. And, in today's world, this is, something else I'm seeing, like the production builders are making their homes more and more custom. It's like kind
Mhm.
of when the production builders were first taken off, like their houses were super basic. But now they're starting to reduce their costs down where they're starting to use these pattern tiles and accent walls and things like that, unique backsplashes. So as a flipper, you're remodeling these 70s, 80s, 90s built homes. you've got to make your projects look good enough to make buyers want to invest in that rather than one of these builder communities. Because builder communities are really nice. They're
Yeah,
curb and gutter roads. They have HOAs. They're great. So what's to make somebody buy your 1995 remodeled home versus a 2023 built, builder grade home? Well, the difference is going to be in the design.
absolutely. Yeah, there's especially when you're somewhere like Kyle, Texas, where there's you know hundreds and hundreds of new build homes that all have incentives and great community, and they're brand new and they look pretty dang good, like you said. But if you're gonna stand out in that area, you really got to do something special. Just making
You
it
do?
look good is not enough anymore.
Right. Yeah. It's not enough anymore. It can't just look good enough. It's got to look great. It's got to,
Mhm.
outshine the competition.
By a lot. Yeah, you have to have it look
Yeah.
amazing.
Right.
Um, Cody, what are your long-term goals for real estate investing? I know we've been talking a lot about your business here, but I know you're still in real estate investing. You've done quite a bit. What's the vision for that?
So, our vision has two parts. We want to be the number one interior design service for real estate investors and developers in the country. That's definitely one. And as far as investing goes, we're sort of shifting our investing philosophy right now. So, just this past year, we've sold all of our single family investments, all of our, actually, pretty much all of our real estate investments we've sold.
Mm.
We did a cash out on our equity. We were in a really good equity position. Our cash flow is really low. So, we decided to cash out on the equity. And we're going through a reinvestment philosophy right now. So it's kind of like, hey, we did the single family, small multifamily, and large multifamily. So which one of these did we like best? So ideally, what it looks like is, 100,000 a month in cash flow off of real estate. What asset is the $100,000 a month going to be on? That's to be determined because, as time goes on, I'm actually starting to like new built properties a lot more. We have a couple of new build concepts we're working on. So if we can get some of these single family duplex style new build concepts to life, I think that will probably be the thing. Would be um, a large portfolio of newly built single family and duplex style homes. Um, Definitely not mobile home parks. Definitely not multifamily. Maybe some commercial mixed in there, which would be like a small 2 to 3, maybe 5 tenant strip centers.
Mhm.
Um, Not anchor tenant backed things that are like subways, nail salons, things that aren't going to go anywhere for anytime soon. So a combination of those types of properties. But right now, we're going through a big reposition of our investments. We cashed out all of our equity and we're looking to reinvest into a new asset class.
Okay. No, that's awesome. It's good. I think it's so good to have an investment thesis of, hey, I want to make $100,000 a month in passive income. I love that. So you're going to be able to back yourself out of that. Well, how do I get to $100,000 a month in passive income? And that's the goal. So just getting something that's going to grow your net worth, that doesn't really help you get there, but something that brings in good passive income for the resources you have to put into it right now. I mean, that hits it. And
Absolutely. One of my favorite quotes is "You can't eat net worth."
yeah.
I think that's awesome. So like, that's kind of where we were at in our investing philosophy. The past 5 years was we were trying to grow net worth.
Mhm.
And, through that, we realized, hey, we can't eat net worth. Like this isn't doing anything for us. It's great. We have all this equity. It's wonderful, but our cash flow is so low. It's like, it's not making a difference in our life. So we decided to cash out on that. And we're going to reinvest the cash into things that are producing more cash to essentially generate a cash flow machine that can just buy more real estate over a period of doing that for 20 to 30 years. Our goal is to have 100,000 a month in cash flow coming in our real estate.
Awesome. And I think for the newer investor listening too, uh, Cody, you built up a portfolio, you built up great net worth, and now you have that equity to invest into cash flow. I think it's easy to say, well, I just want to invest for cash flow when you're getting started. But if you don't have any equity, you're not really going to be able to invest in the cash flow as easily. There is some ways people say, well, subject to or no money down and blah, blah, blah. There's always ways to do it with no money, but it's sure a lot easier when you have money. And now you have a lot of equity because you built up this portfolio through hard work, and you can invest in things that make you passive income. So for the newer investor listening, don't take that to mean that you should never invest to build equity or build net worth. It's just there's a time and a place. And Cody, it sounds like you've gotten to the place where you're saying, hey, now I want more passive income. Like I was looking at these net worth charts on paper, and it's not doing anything for my day-to-day life. And I can totally relate to that.
Yeah, I think investing for cash flow is ultimately the way that every investor should look at their investing philosophy. But like, I'm very old fashioned in thinking that the only way to get cash flow is cash. Like, I mean, I know you can do all the creative stuff, but you've got to make money. You have to have money to make money. Like, yeah, I know there's creative ways to do it, and there's people out there that are a lot better at it than me, but I'm very old fashioned in thinking like, you just got to have money to make money. So, the fastest way to do that, at least for me, the fastest way to do that was to build a rental portfolio with a lot of equity in it. So, I was presented with a lot of deals. I was really good at getting the work done for really cheap. I was doing it at a time in the market where that method worked for me. And like, later on, as time gets a little bit, time goes on a little bit more, you start, it's just a cashing out a vehicle, making cash to go invest in more cash flow. I think every investor, like, the most important thing to do is just start. As a new investor, just like do anything. And honestly, like, try a bunch of stuff. Like, I've done single family, small multifamily, large multifamily. I've syndicated deals. I've done flips. I've done rentals of my own. Like, I've done it all. And I think that was the most valuable thing, was to do a little bit of everything. Find some ways out of that to actually make some cash. And then now in my mid-20s, we were able to cash out, receive a large sum of cash, in the bank. And now I have all of this past 10 years of experience that I can say, okay, what was I the best at? What did I enjoy, and what makes the most money? And I can find like the blend between those three things and investment in that asset class strategically.
And you're also building an active business too, where you're helping other real estate investors, but you're going to be able to make money doing that. And then maybe you can invest that money into passive income after you spend whatever you need to spend to live off of. And I think we get so caught up in this passive income game. I like what you said. You have to have money to do it. It might come from somebody else. It might come from your business. It might come from building that equity in a rental portfolio, but you absolutely need to have money to build a rental portfolio and to make it easy
100%.
to do.
100%, dude. Absolutely. I think, just like you said, like, building a business aside from it, like, you've got to, especially as they get older in these other groups, with older, wealthier guys that have been in real estate, like, the real key is like having a business that produces a lot of cash, and then taking all of the cash and putting it into real estate long term. Give that process 20 years and you will be extremely wealthy.
Yeah, for sure. As long as you have the discipline to keep doing it, you're going to be really well off.
Yep.
Cody, do you have a favorite book that you like to recommend? I'm sure you've read quite a few.
Yeah, I do. The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel is my favorite book. It's fantastic. I actually really love, he just came out with another book as well called Same as Ever. I'm about 3/4 of the way through it.
Really?
Yeah, he's a fantastic author. I like that are more like concepts of life, like life concepts and behavioral concepts, because I'm a big believer that, like, you can make money in literally anything in the world, because there's somebody currently making money in everything in the world. So like, you can make money in anything. So all these books that are extremely niche down to like teach you one thing or the next, I really think all those cause is shiny object syndrome.
Yep.
I think you need to pick to one thing and stick to it. And then I like broad concept books that will help you better refine your business and your investing strategies and things like that to serve you no matter what that industry might be. So the Psychology of Money is really applicable in just in anybody's life, even if you're not a business owner, you're just a regular person. It helps you understand your own investing philosophies and the way you feel about money and things like that. And it helps you understand human behavior, like why humans do certain things. So like, whether you're selling, a paperclip or whether you're selling an investment product, it doesn't really matter. Like, humans act a certain way no matter what you're selling them. So I kind of like, I like these broad concept books. So yeah, Psychology of Money, Morgan Housel. His next book I probably like equally as much, Same as Ever. So I really like the author.
Yeah, he's a great author. I just started Same as Ever, one chapter in, so I don't have any feedback on it yet, but I love the Psychology of Money. And I really like what you said there too. there's so many books on specific niches or specific strategies, like the monthly rental book or the Burr book or the self-storage. There's so many different books, multifamily. And I do agree there. I don't think that continuing to read about different strategies is necessarily the way to go. If you can refine your investment thesis and your why and where you're trying to go, then the strategy will find you. And that's kind of how I landed on mobile home park investing and Burr investing. Is it just makes sense for my long-term goal, my overall goal. So it's so easy to get the shiny object syndrome. And I really like what you said there. Great book too. Cody, how can people best get a hold of you and learn more about your business?
So, if you're interested in the design business, you have a project coming up you want to talk to us about, just shoot an email to info@ivoryhome.co. That's IVORYHOME.co. Shoot us an email. We'll get back to you within 48 hours. We'll talk a little bit about what we do, what else we do in the design world. Otherwise, if you just want to connect with us on social media, you can find us at ivoryhome.co. And then personally, me, Cody Caswell with an underscore on there. I'll send it all to you to put in the show notes.
All right. Sounds good. We'll get that in there. And of course, I'm at Jordan_Moorhead on Instagram. Please reach out to me. Please reach out to Cody. We would absolutely love to help you. And if you are a flipper, you need to look at their design business and make sure your flips shine. Because I can resoundingly tell you, echo the same thing Cody said. If it doesn't look great right now, you can price it right, but you're still going to have trouble selling it. Make it look amazing, make it be the best thing out there, and you're going to have much better luck. All right. Thanks, Cody. Thanks for coming on.
Dude, thank you, man. Appreciate it. This is awesome.
Absolutely. See you soon.
Yep, absolutely, man. Thank you. Take care.
Bye.